Hey Ron, I understand that you have a new Work for Equity course coming up at the end of the month. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I've actually had a work for equity course for a long time now, but I thought it was time to update it. And then I started doing that and didn't realize how much time has changed things. And so I spent a lot of hours updating and still working on it. I'm going to be doing it in on June 29th and 30th, and it is virtual, so everybody can attend no matter where you live. Now, in case you don't know me, I'm Ron Legrand, and this is my 42nd year in the real estate business and 35th year training people what I've learned over the years, and I still do both to this very day. So I'm gonna go over a little bit what we're going to cover, but what I've done is we've divided it up into 2 days, but not two full days, and we're going to start at noon and go till 5, plenty of time for questions, so that we can appease all of our West Coast listeners who get upset when we start at 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't understand why. So you got to get up 6 o'clock. So what? You get done earlier than we do on the East Coast, but we're going to do it from 12 to 5 so everybody can get in. And even the East Coasters don't have to get up early. So first of all, what is work for equity? Well, back in the early 80s, I accidentally discovered it because I was doing a rehab, and some guy came up to me and said, why don't you lease option it to me as is, and I'll do the rehab with my money and my credit. Of course, I had to give him a discount off of the after repaired price, which I did, and it worked out pretty darn good. And so I did some more of them, and finally it became my favorite exit strategy over time. So work for equity simply means we buy the house needing repairs, but we don't do the repairs. We sell a house at almost retail value. In fact, I can make the case that it would be at retail value in its current condition to people who can get the work done with their own money and their own time, or job it out, or whatever they want to do. So we're giving them a discount off the sales price in lieu of them doing the work. And we can do that whether we pay by cash or whether we take over terms. It works a lot simpler when we're buying the house with owner financing or buying it subject to, need some work. We advertise it as a work for equity, and you'll be surprised how big the subculture of people are out there that will be glad to take the house as is and do the repairs if they get a discount. Now, we got a lease option it to them. I'm not selling it to them for cash. We're lease optioning it to them. So this work for equity thing is not really a short-term solution if you want to cash out. If cashing out is your objective, then this isn't for you, because I will tell you frankly, if you cash out, that's the worst thing that can happen to you anyway. Which I'm also going to cover there. I'm going to show you the difference between rehabbing it and cashing it out, and putting a work for equity tenant buyer in there, and frankly leaving them in there, because the truth is these folks usually just don't buy. So if you're trying to cash out, this is not for you. However, if you want to buy a house and sell a house almost immediately, lease optioning it and not touch it, and create all kinds of income going forward, get all the goodies out of real estate, and grow wealthy a lot faster by not selling the house, then this is for you. So you can work this in a couple of ways. I know some clients of mine that lease option to work for equity. They push them to close because they want that check on the back end. Then they give up the depreciation, the appreciation, the debt pay down, all of the things that will make you wealthy, just to get that check. Okay, that's one way to do it. Not my way. When I hand them the keys, I leave them in there. I've got a couple of them right now. I've been there well over 10 years, and I haven't touched the house in 10 years. That's one of the cool things about work for equity. You don't do any repairs. I'm gonna compare in this class. I'm gonna compare buying it, fixing it, and selling it for cash to a work for equity. You're going to find out you make at least 35% more on the work for equity within the first year or two than you would if you cashed out of it. And it's not like you don't get any cash, because you still get the non-refundable deposit and you still get the monthly rent while you're holding it. You won't get, you've got to reduce the price. So you're probably going to reduce the deposit as well, but you're setting up a cash flow machine that you don't touch. Literally, you can put tenant buyers in them the day you close on them if you start marketing them to tenant buyers before you close, if that's possible. Not always possible. And this even works on condemned houses. I've done several houses where I lease option them to contractors of course, have the ability to get them repaired at a lower price, and then they go put the worst condition is in. Of course, the lower the price has got to be. So I give them the opportunity to go buy a house, fix it up, and sell it without them having to raise the money to buy it to them. But I was made as much as 3 times what I paid for it on condemned houses without touching the house, period. I'm going to talk about how to determine the sales price when we're ready to sell. Of course, how to find buyers. And tell you, the buyers come in both owner occupants that want to live in the house, which is why it's very easy to get close to retail price for it in its current condition. We also sell them to investors, like I just described, if the house needs a lot of work. So frankly, the more the house needs, the more apt you're going to be to sell it to investors. I got a Q&A sheet that we put in the house and we put on our website that the potential tenant buyer gets to see, that answers all of their questions, and they understand this work for equity thing. And I'll teach you how to also qualify these buyers. These buyers may or may not be doing the work themselves, but they have relatives that will do the work. And think about it, all they got to do is buy the materials. So if the house needs $40,000 worth of rehab that I would spend, that looks like maybe $5,000 or $6,000 to them buy the materials, because they're not going to do everything that I'd do to the house to begin with. And they got all kinds of times. I give all of them at least 2 years, because frankly, I don't want them to cash me out, but if they do, they do. I think I've had maybe 2 in my lifetime that come back and actually cash me out. So I'll make that point again. This is not a quick cash out. And you're going to learn how to get the most down payment, and also how to get money over and above the rent with my down payment assistance program. You'll learn how to handle the inspection. In other words, when they go into the house, I create a sheet that they sign off on of what they're going to do. And honestly, I don't much care if they do it or not, between you and me, but only the things that they need to do to go to the bank and get a loan. For example, the bank don't require the walls to be painted. They don't require the carpet to be new. They don't require a lot of things. They don't require them countertops that I would put in the house. So the list is pretty long. I know what the house needs to get a loan, so I just make that list and give them a time frame to do it in. And truth is, if they don't do it, I don't care. If they do it, I'm okay with that too. So there's really no way for me to lose, and I'm going to make sure you get that point across. You put yourself in a position to where you can't lose, and you won't lose. So we're going to handle the repairs, the inspections, and also we're going to handle how to handle defaults when these tenants move in if they don't pay you. And I've had a few that didn't pay me over the years, but I didn't have to evict them out of there. We just deal them out. And if you want to get them cashed out, then I'll show you how to do that as well. And then I'll try to talk you out of it. So at our cases now, when the house needs some major items, and it would be difficult to find somebody to put in the house that can come out of pocket with the cash. For example, the AC system is totally out of whack, and we got to buy a new one. Well, for them to come out of pocket with $4,500, it's going to be a hard hunt. So there are some times when I'll make a deal with them. You move into the house, and anything you can't fix, you let me know now, and I'll get it fixed for you, and I'll raise the price 125% of what that thing costs to fix. So I make it easy for them to get in. The truth is, I'm not going to put anything in the house that's not going to increase the value of the house or fix something that might be dangerous. I don't want anybody going in the house that's dangerous. So if there's electric wires hanging out of the panel box, I'm going to make sure we get that fixed before they move in. So anyway, this whole thing, it takes me 2 days, and you're never going to get this anywhere else. This is an accidental discovery on my part, and it was 2 or 3 years later before I even thought about putting it down where people could duplicate it. It is an exit strategy, and again, it works if you buy it for cash, which means you have to put a private loan on it and get a longer term, or if you take over terms, and then there really is no balloon, and you can leave them in there. I've got several of these tenant buyers who have paid off my house. They have lived in it so long. God bless them. Remember, I never touched the house. I had no holding costs. They were in almost as fast as I got control of the house. And so basically, it's just a cash flow machine that produces that residual revenue that everybody should be looking for without going through the repair cost and the costly delays of getting a contractor in and out of the house to do any repairs. It's a beautiful thing. So join me on June 29th and 30th. Starts at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Go register right now.